having the courage to ask yourself these questions. Why am I not feeling my best? Why am I looking my best? Am I happy with myself? And if I'm not, where do I need to put a little bit of money away to get that nip tuck? Where do I need to put some time away?
Welcome to the Lara Jane Layton Show. This podcast is for you, the person who keeps putting others first. Your self-talk has held you back. You no longer need to take a second seat. Let's explore ways to overcome self-doubt. You can silence that inner bully voice and achieve your full potential. Here's your host, Lara Jane.
Welcome to the show, friend. My new best friend, Tomika, is here with us today, and we're going to talk about self-care. Okay, really, this is how important self is. Without self, there is nothing else. And we have got to take care of who we are and be our authentic self in order to really shine and be that example for people going forward. And Tomika is definitely an amazing example of someone who has turned her life around and taken care of herself and put herself first. So I am really excited for you to hear her story. But before we get started, we're going to get a quick word from our sponsor. When we come back, Tomika, help me be kinder to myself. We'll be right back. Hey, since I rarely have openings in my coaching schedule, I have a new resource out there on my website. It is called the BFF Coaching Network. And I have offered a spot there for any coach that has been on this show to list their coaching. You can go out there, you can listen to their episodes, you can feel a little bit about them, and then choose a coach that will work for you. So LaraJaneLayton.com, the BFF Coaching Network. All right, Tomika, the information about you is in the show notes. So let's get started. Backstage, you talked a little bit about your self-care story, and it was just so enlightening of how well you have set the boundary that I take care of me first. So I would love for you to share that with our friend.
So, you know the old saying, put the oxygen mask on you first, that you hear in the plane every time you fly someplace? I live my life very much like that. And it's something that I decided was going to be paramount for me. And my earliest days as a single parent, my son is now almost 13 years old, because, of course, every mother knows your life transforms dramatically, right? And it's no longer your own. And so now you've got to focus on someone else and then others, your employer. If you're a business owner like I am, your clients, you've got parents who live down the street who are in their 70s, going into their 80s. You've got your parents. And so it's so easy, especially for the girl child, the mom, the people pleaser that I'm recovering from being, to put everyone before themselves. And so I told myself, oxygen mask on me first. And I live very much by that. And that looks like a whole variety of things. Where do you want me to start, Lara Jane?
Let's talk just briefly on this oxygen mask because, I always kind of rolled my eyes when someone would say that, like, what's the big deal? It's seconds of difference. But if you think about it, here you are in an airplane. Something happens and these things fall out of the sky. And if you don't have the whereabouts about you, that's going to be very frightening. Now, imagine you're in an airplane. You have no idea what this is. Everybody else speaks a different language than you. But all of a sudden, all these adults are putting these masks on their face. Go, oh, that must be what I'm supposed to do. So you follow along. And somebody else showed you the way to do self-care first. Now, put yourself in a kid's state. Can you imagine the same thing happening? Because almost always those kids aren't going to have a clue, right? Even though they say, put your own mask on first. And these things fall out of the sky, and a parent turns to you and starts to shove something on your face. That is just add to the fear. Sure. But if the parent takes it and puts it on and then turns to you and go, let's put this on, the kid is going to be more willing. So, what I love about this saying isn't that we're taking care of ourselves first, but we're also setting the example. When you have the guts to stand up for you, when you have the tenacity to say, me first, you grant other people that same permission. And when you live that example like you are doing, other people are going, well, whoa, I could do that too. And it's that example that just makes the movement spread so far and wide. And so, as much as I like that saying, I know how much I hated it until I had the aha, there's more to it than just survival. It's an example. So, share your example that you do to help others follow your footsteps.
Absolutely. No, that's great. You're exactly right. It's leadership at its highest level. Another thing that I say, a saying that I live by is you show people how to treat you. And so it's the best thing for you to show them exactly what you expect, right? What you expect in the workplace, what you expect from your child, what you expect from your partner, what you expect from your friends. It is such a game changer that I have found to establish, to number one, check in with your why. Why do I need to do these things? How is it that I feel? How do I show up in the world when I put the oxygen mask on myself first? How is it that I feel more empowered and more confident to face the challenges that are going to come, that are there all the time, by establishing boundaries? And so, what that looks like for me is absolutely doing nothing before the day starts for anyone else other than me. That means not answering an email for a client or my employer. It means, not taking my son's desire to talk about X, Y, and Z until we're in the car and we're driving to school. Then that's the time he can tell me. I might bend a little bit if he brings me a cup of coffee unsolicited. It means getting on the treadmill before I get into meetings. And if for some reason a meeting pops up on my calendar that I didn't foresee, they're going to not see me on Zoom. I'm going to be in the background still on my treadmill or going for a walk with my phone on mute so I can still do the thing that I do. My regimen is not to be negotiated unless it's on my own terms. And that means that as much as it is easy also for someone who has a full time job and also has one especially very busy business, that I also don't work on Sundays. Sundays would be an obvious time to do back end work and administrative work, et cetera. But here's what I know: if I go into a Monday depleted mentally, and physically, I'm no good for myself. And so I don't do that. And then something else, sometimes you just have to get out of your own way. Something that I resisted for years was wearing a CPAP machine. And that has been a game changer, honey. I don't do sleep now and not intentionally without my CPAP. I'm literally, you remember that scene with Julie Andrews, the hills are alive with the sound of music. I can get out of bed and dance. I feel so great because I'm so replenished with actual good rest. That is a huge self-care marker too. I don't know how many people in my family who have snored for a long time, who've never had a sleep study, don't and like haven't investigated why am I feeling exhausted all the time? Is this how I'm supposed to feel at this age? Or like the soreness that we feel. Is it because I'm not stretching? Or is it really because I'm old? Just like having the courage to ask yourself these questions, why am I not feeling my best? Why am I looking my best? Am I happy with myself? And if I'm not, where do I need to put a little bit of money away to get that nip tuck? Where do I need to put some time away? In this case, I'm in the process, well, I've separated from my husband because that was self care. It was like, I'm not going to live the rest of my life unhappy. So I'm going to go ahead and be brave enough to center my needs and my family's needs at this time and go back out there at some point because I only get better, I feel like, as I go. The more I integrate lessons learned about the things that I need to make me happy and the things that I can do and the transformation that takes place over time and consistently doing those things, the more empowered I feel to make a good decision. And that's like good decisions around work, romance, everything.
I know walking into my first marriage was more of a, these are the things you're expected to do when you grow up. You get married, you have kids. Oh, somebody asked me, okay, let's do it. There was no thought about what I was getting into or who or what it might turn out to be. It was, this is the way life is. And when you can switch that around, you know, accept the mistake. I was young and naive. Now I'm going to do it right the next time. And you have this, I will be treated like X. I will be, and who Nordstrom's is the one that says you can hire, um, you can teach skill, you can't teach attitude. And it's like, make sure that person has the attitude, and I know we're married but it's that same with any relationship, whether it's friends or coworkers that you have to deal with or get to deal with because we get to. It's like, where are those boundaries? What is it that you will allow and what is it that you won't?
Yeah.
And when you go through that crap that we went through, you now know what is non-negotiable. New things might come up along the way. Oh, that's something I didn't run into before. That's a non-negotiable. You can add to the list. You can take off the list. That list isn't just something set in stone. It's a living, breathing document that goes, this is what I can tolerate. This is what I will not even tolerate. And where's that balance?
Yeah.
And it looks like, it sounds like you have done an amazing job at knowing you so that you could make those boundaries.
Absolutely. I've recently done and become more comfortable doing a friendship audit. And I have said goodbye to friends of 30 years recently because I've studied patterns. There are things that I've had to say over and over again. Or, we're not the same in a lot of ways, or at least I'm not the same in a lot of ways as I was in our teens, in our 20s, and our 30s. But you are kind of the same. And I was having some of the same challenges with you. So that doesn't mean that you're wrong. It just means you're wrong for me. And so part of what that looks like is wishing someone well and then expanding your aperture for new relationships that meet you where you are. Um, my therapist says that I am um, one of her most boundaried clients as it relates to, I may not be present to all the different areas in the moment where there's a boundary lapse or I haven't explored something
Mhm.
that I could be doing differently. But when I see there's an opportunity to tighten up someplace or at least think about where I could potentially go next and how making this shift or this change could help me open myself to more joy, I explore it. I think one of the things that I've learned over time too, just being on the earth for a long time, is that a lot of people are afraid. They're afraid to say goodbye to relationships of like a long time or marriages because the fear is, well, what if no one else is out there? What if no one else can like show up for me like such and such did? Well, I've learned that that's just categorically for me been untrue, you know? I'm not married again yet. I'm still in the process of going through my this process, but I have a lot of confidence that when I'm ready and I meet someone who's amazing, that it can very much happen for me again. And I think the reason that I feel that way is that I've been really working, as I've shared with you, around trusting myself and also experimenting. This is working, this is not working, not being, no pun intended, married to a certain outcome per se, but just what happens if I tinker here? What happens if I tinker here? What happens if I draw a line here? Who's gonna stay? Who's gonna come in? What's gonna happen that's gonna be working for me? What's gonna shift and change that I might have to investigate doing more of? But it actually feels pretty good to not live in fear and live in the sense of the possibility.
And that try is so important. We think, we're raised. Here's what you do. Here's what life is all about. I hate broccoli, so you hate broccoli. And we don't know that broccoli's good until we're adults and we try it. Oh, we never had this as kids because my mom said it was gross. Broccoli's not a real thing in my life, but it's an example. So it's that try, that experimentation, that I don't know who I am fully yet. Am I completely the perfect me? Yes, I always have been, even when I was a stupid idiot umpteen years ago. Um, that was who I needed to be at the time. And being comfortable with the experimentation. How else do you know? How else can you have a clue what you like and don't like until you've tried it? And it's kind of shamed. Oh, you let go of friend. You must not be a very good friend. You know what? The first and foremost friend is me. And if
Yes,
I am not being kind to myself, it's not a value to the world. And
absolutely.
so separation is okay. And so many people have this thing, oh, you've been divorced, I don't, you must be awful. You know what? Some people just grow apart. Some people didn't have a clue when they got married what it was all about. And so it was my experiment. And it's okay to go, that didn't work, and pick on something new.
Exactly, exactly. I don't know about you, but something that I've gotten better at over the years is drowning out the self-critic, is doing what you're doing, it seems like either instinctively or because you've really worked at this, which is giving yourself grace. It's learning to say to yourself, "You didn't know what you didn't know." I forgive myself for choosing, and it's from a space that didn't serve me. I commit to doing differently this next time around. My was operating from my most empowered self, and that ties into a lot of like my spiritual beliefs. But the great news is that you can access that anytime, as it relates to just what you believe and, the voice that you allow yourself to listen to. And that includes external voices too. I'm quick to tell people, don't feel sorry for me. I'm good. I'm actually really happy. Don't make up stories. Don't like, create this narrative, that I have to then sort of like feel like, is that my life? No, I'm not telling you that I'm sad. Do I look sad? I'm all right, you know? And really feeling that way. So that's
Yeah.
also part of it.
And it's okay to say, it was a tough time, but I learned from it and I am who I am today because of it.
Absolutely.
Because I learned from my mistake. I didn't let it pull me down. One of my favorite, I don't know if it's my favorite song because of what it sounds like, but one of my favorite songs for what I get the message out is The Gambler from Kenny Rogers, who says, every hand's a winner and every hand's a loser. It's all how you play your cards.
I
And I
agree.
don't care what you deal me, I'm gonna learn to win with it.
Yes,
And it's we all have a different hand, but if you play it right, you are a winner. And we none of us have the same hand, but every one of us can win if we choose to.
yeah, agreed. I agree.
And that's what self-care is all about, is giving yourself that opportunity to fall flat on your face and go, that didn't work. We wouldn't have
Absolutely.
light bulbs. Well, we would because somebody else would have done it. If Thomas Edison had a gone, this isn't gonna work. I can't do it. I've already done it 100 times and everything doesn't work, so it's impossible. But he didn't give up, and we don't have to give up either. I figured I was my authentic self 5 years ago. Am I the same? No. Does that mean I'm not authentic today? No. That means I'm coming into that light. I'm understanding more and more and more, and that is what self-care is all about.
Absolutely.
Knowing who you are and knowing what works for you. What works for me may not work for you. Does that make me bad or you bad? No. It makes us different, and that is the beauty of this world, is we are all different.
Yeah, another to that point, something else that I've learned to do is compete with me
Yes.
and no one else, and it's a healthy competition. I just ask myself, how could I be better today? How could the military has a slogan, I can't remember which branch, but it's like, how do you suck less today than you did yesterday?
I love
I
it.
ask myself that continually. You know what I mean? Not that
Mhm.
I'm dissing myself, but I'm just like, hey, you didn't wear your CPAP. That's why you're tired. Can you commit to making sure that you wear it today? It's almost like a self-mothering instinct, where you're kind of like operating as a parent to yourself, in a good way. It's like if you've had a parent who's really nurturing and loving, you think about what that parent would have said to you if you were tired or overwhelmed, and the kind of gentleness, and guidance that they might give you. And you give that to yourself. It's a transformative thing when you can hold yourself gently and kindly. I learned years ago that being harsh with myself um, was just the opposite of leaning into the self-care that I really wanted to be able to achieve. And so because I really like myself and I love myself, I talk to myself, with kindness. And that's made all the difference too in terms of like how it's so easy. I know everyone listening to this knows how easy it is if you allow it to be for you to be thrown off your self-care regimen the moment someone has, something urgent happen or something happens at work or you're needed here, you're needed there. It's not like you don't show up to do your job or to help someone, etc. You just may do like I do. So here's your list of things for the day. Let's just say you're going to work out at 9. Now you're going to work out at 5. You're going to keep your appointment with yourself because you promised yourself that. It's just going to show up a little bit different on that same day because then you can feel really good about going to sleep saying, I kept my word to myself. And that's
Yeah.
really helpful. When you say, I love myself, that's what consistency looks like. I'm going to show up for myself no matter what happens. And that feels great.
And I love that. What is my minimum? This I am going to do this every day. And I have a son that is loves to do his workouts. And he is like, I will work out every day. I don't care. Yeah, I will do it. If I'm sick, I will do it. It may look different. My minimum is 25 push-ups and 100 sit-ups. That's it. If I can't make it to the gym, that will be done. And you go, okay, you have a backup plan. Life doesn't always go like we want. But when you put yourself first, you have that backup plan. Why do you think we have spare tires in our car? Well, have you ever had to use it? No, but it's there because you might get a flat. What's your backup plan and are you prepared?
Yeah. So that's great. It's funny with the advent of ChatGPT and AI. That's another thing that you can like continually like look at ways to do better, to create a backup plan. That's another thing when you talk about backup plans. That's another way of showing up for yourself in love is creating contingency plans. Just like you talked about with your son. He said, no matter like kind of like what UPS says, neither rain, sleet, hail, or snow will stop the deliveries. And that's the same thing about you planning ahead for the inevitable in terms of disruption or what have you. Something in terms of my backup plan right now that I'm really focusing on is will and estate planning, you know? Being the only daughter and the only one that lives close to my parents, physically close in proximity, I'm watching them go through all their planning and realizing, it's not too early for me to do the same. I already have policies in my name on behalf of my son, et cetera, and already, saving for college and all those things. But part of what I have learned over time that self-care looks like too is planning ahead for the things that we don't necessarily really want to think about, but
Mhm.
are also inevitable, you know? And the ways that you do that is kind of looking the horse in the eye, if you will. Um, Really becoming more diligent about managing your finances. That's something that has been on my list of things to really kind of become less fearful around for a long time. And, one of the things that drew me to my husband is because he has a degree in mathematics from the Naval Academy. He's run his own business for many years. He's really good at accounting. And I realized in retrospect, I looked to outsource to him things that
Mhm.
were really important for me to learn how to do. So that I wasn't looking to partner with someone from a space of lack. So that's also what self-care can look like in terms of what I'm doing now, which I'm taking a couple of classes. I'm managing my QuickBooks account and I signed up for this. And now I have like quarterly check-ins, and with my upcoming accountant about my business. It's like it's being less fearful to look into the dark places. When I
Mhm.
say dark places, the things that scare you, the things that make you nervous, the things that you don't feel confident about. And taking it little bit by bit at a time. Again, to go back to the child parent analogy, when you've got a baby who's learning to eat for the first time, you're not going to shove a bunch of cheese in their mouth. You're going to give them appropriate foods at appropriate pace, little baby food, little mashed carrots and a little bit of milk, and you just do it a little bit at a time. The applesauce, and then before you know it, they're like, "Oh, that's not so bad." And that's
Mhm.
my experience and also my belief for myself as I tread into areas that I've long sort of either pushed to the side or said I couldn't do it, and now I'm saying I absolutely can and I will.
Ah, that's beautiful because it is so important. Just learning, growing, changing is all part of self-care. And, when we take care of ourselves, you end up taking care of the people around you because you have the energy to do so. You have the clear thought, the clear expectations of what life is gonna be like. And if you stumble, you don't put yourself down. You go, "Oh, I learned there's a bump in the road there. Okay, I will just kinda" what is it? Never mind, I'm not gonna say that because I can't remember the name of the car. I was like, "Okay, but Jane's brain's going old." But yes, it's like it's a learning process, and it's okay to be different because we grow. The flowers get little teeny tiny. They grow by inch, and by the end of I'm thinking of a sunflower. By the end of the summer, they're 10 feet tall and beautiful. Did they ever worry they weren't enough? Did they ever expect the other flowers around them to grow faster or make fun of them? "Ha ha ha, you're only barely touching the sun and I'm way up here." No, they knew. They know it's a evolution. We all evolve at our own time, our own space, and there's no shame of being the person eating baby food because you haven't learned to eat steak yet. It's okay. Or whatever you eat if you're vegan or vegetarian.
Absolutely. Agreed.
Oh, how fun. It's how important. It just I don't care how you slice it. If you don't take care of yourself, you can't be there for other people. And if you take the time to totally fill up your tank, you're gonna get more miles of it. It's like there's so many of us that stop by the gas, put in a quarter and make it a little ways, and put in another quarter and make it a little ways. We're constantly trying to like, "Oh, why am I out of gas? Why am I out of gas? I don't get this. I went to the gas station. I don't get this." You got to take the time to fill it up. You don't just give it a little bit,
Yeah.
and we forget. I did it. I did my exercise. Well, did you sleep? Did you eat? Did you? Oh, I've been so busy. I forgot to eat. Maybe that's why I'm tired.
Yeah.
It's like we got to fill all the way up.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I've worked as a executive coach as well as a lifestyle coach for many years, run mastermind groups with women, and we talk all the time about practical ways to make sure that we are good. And that is everything from, taking part of your Sunday to do for you, plan for the upcoming week, not just the food prep and everything, but put on your calendar this is my recurring time to do the thing that I said I was gonna do this past week. Literally, like, that's part of I even because I've been a project manager too for years, I have a project management tool that, is like a to-do, done and working, and I consult that, and it holds you accountable. Something else is that you can implement this with your own family. I tell my father, he's always complaining about this or that hasn't been done. I said, "Dad, I put a calendar invite on your calendar to go do this thing that you've been talking about now for the last couple weeks. And it's because I love you that I'm saying, don't keep bringing it to me. You've got the
Right.
tools with which to solve the problem. I'm going to keep renewing that calendar until you tell me you've done it, until you took it off the list." So this is also like giving people back themselves as it relates to the things that they really can do, but they would just be happy if you did it. The same thing with my child, you know, he's got to show me every Friday his grades. He's got to do a little presentation. Here's what I have: no outstanding assignments, mom. See, you got zero, 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 zero. Instead of me having to walk around with all the things in my head that I need to be checking on, et cetera, et cetera. It's like finding ways to like gently encourage people to take their own power and leverage it for themselves, as opposed to you feeling like you have to help them do it all. Because that's how we burn out.
Yep.
Help
When we
get into
do it
people's systems.
all,
Yes.
and we don't give them justice either. Because when we do it for everybody else, they don't learn to do it for themselves.
Precisely.
And you create your own codependency. It's like,
Correct.
oh, great. Now they're going to rely on me for everything. No, you don't have to do that. And I had a boss that every year at review time, we had to turn in a resume and reapply for our job. And
Okay.
it's like, I want to see what value you added. I want to see where you feel you are. And it wasn't just uh, you checked my boxes. What do you feel like you added? And by having your son give you a progress report, and giving yourself your little Kanban board, how amazing is that? That you're following through. It's getting done and it's not off the list. And we have the waiting list, of course, it's out there and I don't have to do it now. One day it'll be urgent and we can move it over, but it doesn't need to be right in your face of do it now. And so I love the way you're managing your time, you're helping your son learn to manage his time, and your dad, you're still taking care of all the world and yourself.
Well, something else that I haven't talked about is I outsource quite a bit to my team. I have several businesses, but I have one virtual assistant. She does almost all the heavy lifting in terms of all of the scheduling of appointments, the managing of my calendar, client engagement. I literally just say, "Hi, I would like these things done today," and then I just oversee them being done in the way that I want. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, who are working across different aspects of my life, whether it is I work business development in terms of, like, we're getting new business in, but they are admins, they help me with business development, they help me with marketing, and I've had some of them for years, and so that's a wonderful gift to yourself if you can afford to make that happen, of outsourcing. That way, your trips are planned 6 months to a year in advance. Your kids, all their recitals and things are on your calendar for, months. You're not trying to, like, juggle all the things. I outsource cleaning. I have a woman who comes to cook, every Monday. I don't cook at all, well, very little. I'm constantly looking at ways. I've hired, not just people to fix the house, but also people to run, like, personal shoppers and errand runners, so that I can have more time to myself. That's one of the big core things that I do from a self-care standpoint. That way I can spend time talking with you and, not have to worry so much about, uh, doing anything other than enjoying that time. That's a gift.
I think delegation, whether it's someone that works with you all the time or someone you can turn to for short things, is so important, and so many of us think we have to do it all. You don't. Heck, I've been using Instacart for I don't know how long because I don't wanna take the hour and a half to go to the store. And if I take the extra 10 minutes to properly write down the instructions, it's not wrong, you know? And if they mess up, you're not mad at your husband for it. Because when I'd send him, if something got wrong, there was friction. Yeah, why do that to someone you love?
Yeah,
When
problem
you're
solving is
you
best.
know, us high achieving women are control freaks in a sense, but
Absolutely.
control of our lives, but we don't have to do it all. We know how to let go of some of the tasks that burden our creativity. And why not take the time back?
Exactly. We are so aligned.
No shame. No shame. You don't have to do it all.
Yeah, during COVID, that taught me that as a single mom, like, I had someone come into the house. Thankfully, it was just initially a nanny, but she turned out to be a nanny who was trained in early childhood development. She sat at the computer with my son doing virtual learning every single day, during COVID. That was, like, one of the biggest gifts I gave myself. I had to stretch myself financially to do that, but it was so worth it. I took on additional work, to make sure that my son, to the best of my ability, didn't fall behind in school. And that taught me something. It taught me that I had it within myself to problem solve, even if it meant I had to work the longer hours to make it happen. But figuring out how to make more money so I could do the things that I needed opened up new lines of revenue in my mind that I could pursue. And then I could hire all the people all the time, which is not to say I'm wealthy. I just I have my priorities are quality time with myself and my son. And what does that look like? It
Mhm.
means that there's support to do the things I don't necessarily want to do, etc. I even when my husband came into the picture, he was like, "Oh, great. This is a structure that works for me too. We can enjoy ourselves because we're just not throwing money at the problem, but we're finding ways to alleviate ourselves of the stress of the mundane and the day to day, et cetera, that don't necessarily have to fall in our laps." So,
You talk about this COVID time and finding someone to sit with your son. And there were a lot of parent-child relationships that got very strained because the parent didn't offload what school was doing. And there's like, "I'm trying to work, and I'm trying to help you, and I'm trying to do everything," and it was too much. It was a gift you gave your son to not strain your personal relationship with him by allowing him to still go to school while you do things you love. You know, I love working. I love doing these things, and I can do more of it so you can be successful too.
yeah, that's a great way of looking at it.
I love it. God, this has been fun. Definitely. I love how well you have established your boundaries. And one of the things I like to talk about is boundaries are for you. You don't tell someone else, here's a boundary, don't cross it. You say, here's my boundary. If someone crosses this is how I will respond. That is the boundary. You can't tell other people. You can't change other people. You can influence them, they can change. It's not your job. Your job is to set your boundaries, and if someone crosses it, you know how to respond, and you have done that amazingly. So, thank you for your example. I love it. How about sharing
Absolutely.
with our friend a little bit about you? Like, how would we get a hold of you? Like, "Oh, Tomika, I need your wisdom."
So I have coachtomikaanderson.com. That is where I have mostly been, I'm reachable there, as well as motivatedmamas.org. That's where I do my coaching and my mastermind work. And then one of my companies is called Manifest Greatness Media. So, and then I also have a final company. It's called Single Parents Who Travel. That's the one that I was mentioning to you earlier. It's about 16,000 single parents from all around the world. And I share these gems about how they can care for themselves in this community. In fact, we've been honored by and been honored by companies as big as Meta. We've been on Good Morning America and Forbes and other places because we're an organization that really is in support of single parents, not just moms, but dads too, and telling them not just to travel with their kids, but put the oxygen mask on them first so that they can have not just their own great experiences, but they can show their kids how to do it too, which I think is one of the best gifts.
Yes. Let's lead by example. We don't have to just tell people what to do. We can just show them. That's beautiful. So if there's only one thing that our friend could work into her schedule this week, what would you suggest she do?
I would suggest if you are sleep deprived or you haven't given yourself enough rest, give yourself a complete hooky day. I did that a few weeks ago and I was amazed at how that made me feel. Literally, I had DoorDash, I had candles, I watched Netflix movie after Netflix movie. My son was good doing his own thing with the dog. I gave myself permission to ignore the to-do list and just focus on being happy and resting and enjoying myself. And that is a gift that I feel like so many busy moms, business owners, etc., we don't give ourselves that. We're off to the next thing. We're always doing the errands. Give yourself a break, a little staycation. It could just be 24 hours, but give yourself a complete break, even from the phones. I would say do that, and you'd be amazed at the reset that you'll be able to achieve.
Mm. Oh, can I do a hooky day? I don't know. That'll be hard. I could do a hooky hour.
Start small and build your way up, right?
What a great idea, though. Check out, be closed, and let yourself heal and fuel up for the next full productive day. I love it. Thank you so much for joining us today. Friend Tomika and I are not medical or mental licensed professionals. We're here for entertainment. People that have traveled a rough road, found some ways to make it a little bit smoother for us. I want to share our knowledge, what we gained with you to see if it might help you to have a little smoother path. So thank you so much for joining, and stay tuned for the next episode.
Are you tired of waking up exhausted? You are not alone. If you're looking to take your life back, let's start with the simple step of adjusting your self-talk. Stay tuned for the next episode with your host, Lara Jane. Remember to follow the show so you don't miss the next simple step that you can use to feel more confident. And please leave an honest review.